Controversial or hot take, sometimes you are the problem. And I say this with love because sometimes all of us are the problem. And I really wish that in this wonderful age that we're in, where thank God we are naming so many more things in popular psychology, we're naming narcissistic tendencies and we are naming lack of ownership and we are naming these things. We are saying to people, like, yeah, you probably need to be in therapy. We all need to be in therapy. I'm so glad that we're naming those things, but does anybody else notice the way that there's this tendency to other, as if we're the ones making the videos going, this is how you recognize a narcissist, or this is how you recognize somebody who's problematic, or whatever that video is. It's like as if that person making that video has no possibility whatsoever that sometimes they are the problem. I mean, it's kind of funny, right? Because sometimes we are all freaking problematic. Okay? Name me anybody who's perfect at all times. Sometimes we are all problematic. Sometimes you are the one requiring emotional labor. Sometimes you are the one who's getting defensive and won't admit, like, hey, you did this thing wrong. Okay? Sometimes I'm that person. We all have been that person. We try to learn and we try to grow. And one of the things that I look out for in my life now, frankly, is I want to align with people who can recognize those behaviors. I think it's important that we recognize them, but I definitely don't want to be around anybody who talks about those sorts of patterns with a tone of disgust, as if they themselves are incapable of any of those behaviors. I mean, how arrogant is that? Like, really? You think that you have no situation or circumstance under which you would behave badly? Come on. This is not a like letting people off the hook. I get it. Like when someone's behavior is harmful, I think it's good that we talk about it, that we try to change it, etc. I'm just saying that it, at least for me, I try to keep it real. I try to keep it humble and remember that my shit stinks too. That like I'm not perfect any more than anybody else. I am just as capable of being a complete bitch as anybody else. And frankly, I've found a kind of freedom in that because I think there was a time when I was looking at all of those behaviors and monitoring those sorts of behaviors and really, really, really trying to make sure that none of those behaviors could show up in me like ever. And that becomes really problematic, actually. It's no way to live. It's just perfectionism dressed up in new clothing, trying to make sure that you're always like on the right side of every single issue or topic, that you're never causing a problem for someone else. It's also people pleasing because the reality is that what's too much for one person is not enough for someone else and vice versa. Like you can't win at people pleasing. So I think the best that any of us can do is to honor our own humanity, listen when people give us feedback, even if it's difficult to take in, and do what we can to apologize when we realize that we were in the wrong. That's what it means to be human.